I have another question from Nick. If you are not naturally musical, are you less likely to pick up the tonality in the voice?
I think the acuity, again, can be nature and nurture. I know you can be taught it, because if you think about people that have to use, radio, for example, in air traffic control and all that sort of thing, those are skills that can be acquired. You can pick out voices and words with a broad range of different accents and things. So you can acquire those skills. And that is a very, very sort of strong thing, is learning about diversity in your sales. Really learning how to pick out what particular channel works well for different customers. But again, that's perhaps subject of another webinar of the sort of exercises that can build that skill.
I think it was covered a little bit on The Apprentice last night, if anybody watched that, in that we had some young lady speaking at 90 miles an hour to somebody who was a German and not a native English speaker. And Alan Sugar was telling her to learn how to speak export English.
Delightful. Yeah, I like that.
Slow things down and to accentuate, and but that's about awareness of where you are and who your audience is in that given moment, that you need to change your style in order to suit that particular situation. So certainly, diversity, or people with who don't have English as a first language, you really have to consider your communication skills even more. I've just a few more questions, Jill. Sorry, I'll try and hop on. You mentioned some interesting statistics earlier in terms of how much we read into non-verbal communication. Can you tell us where you got those figures? Also, with the figures you said about telling so many people when we are dissatisfied with a service.
Well, to answer the second question first, it was a McKinsey study which cost about £6 million that was developed for the launch planning of a new customer centre bank. That's where I first came across those figures, and they've cropped up repeatedly. I was on a leadership programme a few years ago with a CRM manager in a very, very large conglomerate, and we discussed those same economic figures, and she said, yeah, they're absolutely spot on. So they are measured, these metrics, performance indicators and so on are measured in a large number of businesses as part of business intelligence and competitor intelligence and customer intelligence. So they seem to be quite well normed, if you like, and validated. But it is key that you get inside your own business and are gathering this kind of information and find out what works for yourselves. And that's one of the things that's, that can be done, in consultancy terms, is actually making sure you're really hitting on what applies in your business, and being very, having an honest look at what's going on in terms of your conversion rates and the reasons for losing customers. The first question, if you want to go over that again, Suzanne.
Yeah, you mentioned some interesting statistics earlier in terms of how much we read into non-verbal communication.
Yes, this is from psychology, sort of British Psychological Society sources, and I've seen it much misquoted as well as quoted correctly, and it's about the percentages often displayed as a pie chart of non-verbal communication in comparison with verbal communication, but the context is actually in terms of how much we pick up on emotions. Okay, so it's not in terms of if you are trying to display a concept, get a concept across to people. It's I mean, the actual reference is Mehrabian is the surname of the individual that's referenced, and I can't remember his Christian name. It's something like Adams or Alexander, but I can look it up. But essentially, it's not about picking up a new structure or concept. It's actually about how much you can read emotions from the words that people are using. And so the key thing is that it's all of the other things that a human body is doing that gives you the clues to the emotions that they're feeling, the things that they're doing with their hands, the amount of tension that they're holding their body, whether they're sweating, the eye movements, facial expressions, tension in the jaw, all of those kinds of things, and whether people are moving around, whether they're sat down, moving forward, moving back, or standing up, pacing, movements and changes in the centre of gravity. All of those kind of things give you clues as to what's going on, what's the 90% below the surface, if you like, in that individual.
I guess then maybe that when you see these things happening, then that could possibly be followed up with active questioning, trying to establish what people are feeling comfortable or uncomfortable about, if they're not necessarily saying it, but asking them to volunteer that information when you're getting those signals.
Yes, and you can practice at you must always put the relationship on the agenda. So even if you've got a list of bullets 1 to 5 that want to be covered in the meeting, and none of it's the relationship between you, if you recognise that something is going wrong, or there is something that needs to come out to progress, then it's worth being brave and saying, can I just check out with you? Can I just talk about X, Y, Z, whatever's sort of going on? But do it in a sort of a gentle, supportive sounding voice, not a challenging voice, and that very often really opens up and makes people more comfortable with you, actually, even though it feels a little scary to do that if you're in the early stages of building a new relationship. And people realise and appreciate the fact that you are really paying attention, and you're concerned about them, you're interested in them. And I can give quite a number of instances of that, but I'm obviously conscious of the clock.
Yes, indeed. I was just going to say that's brilliant. A really good piece of advice, I think, to finish on for today's event. So I don't think we're going to be able to answer everybody's questions, because we did say we'd finish around now. So if I may, I'm going to wrap up the event for today. I just want to say thank you, Jill, for a very informative presentation, and thank you to everyone for their questions. If you'd like to pass this presentation on to your colleagues, please send on the recording link, which we will distribute to you later on this week, later on at the beginning of next week, via our new YouTube page, which is just about to be set up. So we're hoping that this information can reach a much wider audience via the recorded medium later on as well. And for further discussions on today's event, you can also join us on our blog at bloomerbust.wordpress.com, or join our Bloomerbust LinkedIn group for further discussions and series updates. Just a little bit more about Jill, just before we finish as well. I know, Jill, that you offer consultancy on performance improvement programs, also coaching and mentoring, with an option to include 360-degree assessment. Jill is, as I said before, she's a multiply published author. If you were to search for Jill on Amazon.co.uk or .com, you will find that she has 4 books currently available for sale, and she's also offering multiple book orders at a scaled discount. If you're looking for, say, 10 or more books, she should be able to help you with that. Would be happy to also talk further, I'm sure, Jill, about any other aspect of training with regard to emotional intelligence and the additional things that Jill offers at consultationlimited.com. So just a little bit on our contact details as well, so you can just see there Jill's details and my details. And for some reason I had created these links in red or black earlier, and they've gone back to grey. Oh, the joys of PowerPoint. It gets the worst of you sometimes. So I'll just read that out in case it's hard to see. That's Jill Dann at consultationlimited.com. So that's GILLDANN at consultationltd.com. You can also find Jill Dann on LinkedIn and at consultationltd.com as well for her website. And of course, anything more on Bloom or Bust you can find on the bloomerbust.wordpress.com website. And for our next event, we're planning a live online video broadcast before Christmas. With the core Bloom or Bust members. We'll be having a light-hearted review of the year's latest web technology innovations. So keep your eyes peeled for an invite to that early in December, and hopefully the technology will rise to the occasion and we'll have a fantastic event and a bit of a laugh as well. So it just leaves me to say many thanks again for your questions and interactions at today's event, and we look forward to meeting you online again soon. Thank you very much to everybody. Thank you and goodbye.